5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You're live with Neve.
All right. What's happening out there in Radio Land? Well, let's get rid of, you can see my beautiful smiling face this morning. Hello, hello, hello. Friends, Romans, and countrymen, lend me your beers. We come not to bury Caesar, but to fuck around and drink with him. That's right. You're on the all-inclusive, all-American, all-everything Live with Neve show. That's right. I'm looking out. It is kind of an overcast day here in New York. I can't quite see the city yet, but it's just a little bit of the hazy shit that'll burn off as the sun comes up. And welcome. I've got a great guest this morning. I have my friend Tucky Parkis, bass player extraordinaire, cool chick extraordinaire. You're going to like it. We're going to be talking NAMM, which this year I did not get to go, and I'm fucking steamed at it still. How is life so unfair sometimes? Just, but things happen, and I've been doing a lot of traveling. I'm getting ready to go out on the road. From May 4th till the 22nd, I believe. It'll be all over Tennessee. Place that's sort of near Tucky, but not quite. That would be Kentucky, which we know that the lovely lady is named Kentucky. Imagine why. And you ask yourself, why does a lady who's named Kentucky live in New York City? Well, if you've ever been to Kentucky, you probably know why. It's I've been looking for houses all over the country to buy one in a rural area, and I've been looking, and I actually looked down in West Virginia because, well, that's where the houses in Kentucky both are very, very affordable by compared to the national averages. At the moment, Florida is just kind of overpriced, so I'm going to wait for the fall of all things, which inevitably happens. Florida has had a boom or bust economy since Moses wore short pants, and it's just one of those things. I love Florida. I go there a couple times a year, 2 or 3 if I'm lucky. And I plan to be down there. I've got family. I've got every one of my musical friends. The only place I have more friends musically is here or LA. And people really underestimate the Florida music scene. There's just so much great talent down there. And there's like a golden age of music in my old former city of Tampa. Things have really changed a lot for the good. You have, there's a restaurant called Eulalie downtown, which is in the old Waterworks building. And my friend owner of the Columbia, Richard, has it. And it's just an amazingly great restaurant. So the service is good. The menu is exotic and different. And what I mean by that, they use all of the bountiful harvest of Florida's agricultural sector. And the menu is just different. If you've ever been a guest at the Columbia, which is, if you go to Tampa, you got to hit the Columbia. If you go to St. Augustine, it is the oldest restaurant in Tampa. So Richard, I just gave you a free ad so you can fly up here and take me to Keens one night, and we'll have a good time drinking and talking about how cool it is. I'll be drinking water, of course, but I don't care, For any of you out there who are sober people, remember, if you're hanging out with your friends and you can't deal with the fact that they're having a beer and you can't, well, man up, man. Grow some hair and just deal with it. Because just because you don't want to drink doesn't mean everybody else in the bar doesn't. In fact, frankly, if it wasn't for bar liquored up people, man, my music and stand-up career would be worse than it already is. At any rate, today I'm going to give my usual weekly attempt at giving us some good news. And so what we do here is we look at two diametrically opposed news shows. One which is the Drudge Report, which many will say is a complete far right wing cesspool. And then the Huffington Post, which the people on the right would say is a cesspool of communists. Or, oh God, let's clutch our pearls. They're dating black people and they're smoking marijuana. And God Almighty, what in the hell are they doing? We're all gonna die. Well, you know, that life sucks sometimes. It doesn't matter what color, it doesn't matter what kind of political belief. You can still get sick. You still got to take a dump in the morning. And if you just on both sides be a little fucking more sensible and calm, when you're screaming at people, you cannot get your point across. And when everybody's screaming at both sides, it just becomes noise. And remember, the people who determine our elections, they're 15% of the vote. And here's my theory. That is the percentage they get based on polls. I don't know about you, but I freaking hate polls. I hate somebody I don't know calling me after 5 o'clock. If your friends, family, are part of my big radio family and musical family, you know how to get a hold of me after hours. But if you don't know me, you're probably going to call, because if I know you and like you, I'll have reached out to you. I have a lot of friends and I try to keep up touch with them. If you're out there and I haven't talked to you in a week or two, well, we can't be all places at all times. So getting into good news, if you're into football, this is the big fucking enchilada. In fact, had I been a more erudite and more organized host, I would have had a football guy from the NFL come on to talk about it. I've done that a few times on the show. Number one, we must not be a football-driven audience because it didn't do shit for my ratings, up, down. I mean, not that I care that much about ratings, but I do care about them. In fact, everybody who's doing something creative wants to just have your head patted once in a while and say, you know what, you're doing good. Because no matter what you're doing, you kind of deserve to be told, hey, good job. And for you musician friends of mine out there, all of my musician friends are cool people. And when they see a band that might be struggling, they don't sit out there and go, they suck, I love it. They sit there and go, man, that's a tough fucking night. And at my age now, I'm way past the point where I'm going to walk in and do that from the back of the room. I think the last time I did that in my leathers, spandex, and my sock stuff down my spandex, I kind of was like 20, 21. And, for any of us, whatever you do, there's always better and worse. So just do what you do and do it good and be freaking happy, because that's infectious. So we do have this for a lot of people. And if you pick up on the show and you want to call in and talk a little bit about football, know this. I really don't know anything about football, okay? When I was in the age where I'd be doing football, I was in a basement grimly playing away since I was 9 years old. And as a result, I'm somewhat culturally, I'll give you an example. I gigged through the whole 20 years of whatever Seinfeld was on. Never saw a show until the last episode. And the only reason I saw it was because I was playing a gig that was a regular, the Irish pub in Tampa. And I think it's still there even. And we were playing, and my good buddy, who was the manager at the time, comes over. He's like, hey, Neil, listen, I want you guys to take a break for an hour. And I was like, really? He never gave us breaks. So he watched the clock like a demon, which is okay, because I watch the clock too. I want to make sure they get a little more than I told them they're going to get. But he says, you guys got to take a break because Seinfeld's last night. And I was like, what the fuck is Seinfeld? And why would we not play over them? It kind of was insulting almost. But I watched it. I kind of went, there's some funny laughs, but because that show had all these clips from the past, I can't say that I really knew a damn thing from watching the clips, but honestly, I was more confused and didn't fully understand the whole Seinfeld world. And I've watched some episodes. I'll say this, I've watched Larry David, and I think he's a hysterical human and comic and just great. What can I say? It was a huge show, and I missed it. And I don't really watch a lot of TV even now. I read a bunch, and I get most of my news by reading, world news, foreign papers, foreign newspapers on the right and left. I like to know what kind of fuckery's afoot. But okay, so there's rumors, if you really are worried about, God, poor Taylor. The Republicans are after her because she's a psyop. Dumb fuckers, give me a break. Any rate, on that, all I can say is it's too well thought out. It's just, people fall in love. And, she seems like a nice woman. I don't really listen to her songs much, but I give her credit. She's making $1 billion fucking bucks, peeps. And that is a lot of coin no matter what. I mean, she's made more money than anybody else in the record industry. Now, does that hinge entirely on her talent and her expertise? Yeah, it does. But she's had a great team. I know one of her managers, and something you may not know, Toby Keith, who passed away this week, owned a good percentage of the record company that owned Taylor. And that just shows how people don't really know, but the music business is infected with good people, top to bottom, who try and help out. And yeah, they make money, but we've all got to eat. So I've signed deals where I didn't think it was a good deal and I kind of got screwed, but in the end, it could propel you to another level. So that's good news. And then an Alabama station is in disbelief after a 200-foot radio tower was stolen. People, I can tell you what happened that night. There's 3 or 4 rednecks sitting around. They probably had a big dump truck and they had a big fucking crane that they tow around and dig swimming pools and shit. And they were sitting around on a Friday and they said, hell, let's start with some moonshine. And sure enough, they sat down and had a few good glasses. And I will just tell you, I don't drink at all anymore, but for good reason. But they'd have like a mason jar glass. And I can tell you from experience down south, if you're from New York, don't take the moonshine, okay? Even if you've drunk with Russians. I mean, I was God's own alcoholic, but for God's sake, that shit will make you blind. It'll make you wake up in strange places with people you don't know, and it's just not good. So beware of the moonshine and down south. But they went out one night after a few glasses of shine and cut down a fucking 200-foot tower. Then they probably chopped it up with a saw, and you can just see these drunk fuckers running around the night. Woo! They're cutting shit up and throwing it in the dump truck. And down south, that's one of the only places you get away with that kind of shit. Because down there, the cops are like, I'm sitting here, it's a town somewhere, saying wherever it was, Missouri or however. People are sitting there, and they're like, they stole the damn radio station last night. I can't get my fucking Hank Williams. Well, it's some weird shit, I gotta say. I think it would go noticed here in the New York area, out at the broadcast center out between New York and Jersey, out there in the Meadowlands and the dead murderer burial grounds. So, I don't know, we'd notice it quicker. Alabama is in disbelief. Then these folks in Alabama, this is not a good news. This is just racist twaddle. This family in, I'm going to open it up just to make sure I get the facts right. We don't want any lawsuits here. Okay, this was in Parksley, Virginia, and I was about to say West Virginia, which I've traveled extensively through, and it's not on my list of places to move, either from New York or LA or Miami, say, or Tampa even. Anyhow, American couple who fled to Haiti for Virginia achieved their American dream. They opened a variety market, and you'd think up in D.C. area, Parksley, Virginia, it's, that's like politician land. They opened a Haitian food truck. People were coming from an hour away to get some of that excellent oxtail, fried plantains, and marinated pork, which, if you dig that kind of food, it's hard to find unless you're in New York and you go up to the Bronx or South Bronx. It's around here, but like in New Jersey, the chances of me getting any Haitian food are slim to none. I like oxtail. I also like goat. I think it's really a good, tasty thing. One of my friends who watches the show regularly always tells me how I don't believe you like eat goat. He just looked at me like I'm completely out of my mind. Well, I am, and we're gonna go to a break right now, and we're gonna let a couple of bands now. Here's some interesting news. This first track I'm going to play you, which is the first ad, and it's Carlton Wilkinson, who is a music professor and PhD in music, and he knows so much cool stuff about music, and he's hiring me, which I'm thrilled, to play drums on the album. And his last album had like 20 songs on it, so I'm always excited because the more the merrier, and it helps me feed my starving self and keep my children out of penury. I was thinking about selling them to some Asians last week, but they're 40 years old, and they put up a kick and fight, at any rate. I can't imagine why. So this track is by Carlton Wilkinson, There's two tracks cut together for his ad. If you dig the music, please, I think it's www.carlton.com, but it shows in the ad. So please help him out, hook him up. He's very talented. This is his second album that I've been involved with. And all I can say, the record defies pigeonholing. And the titles of some of the songs are the funniest crap I've ever seen. And I always love the power of satire, and I think that he's done a great job. Oh, there, my Face ID worked. Wow, that was cool. You ever find out that when you update your iPad, it it loses settings? Like I couldn't log on this morning to my show, which I only log on to like 20, 30 times a week. But after that, we'll talk. Here we have Carlton Wilkinson, and it's self-explanatory.
There's some changes headed like the Gulf Stream rising, like some gale that's been blowing off this wild bird island shore. And I can't say where, and I don't know when, but some old door's been opened in the restless shade. Poor man sagging cigarette takes the subway home. Rich man folding old regret steps on the rundown below.
All right, we're not quite done yet. Yes, I know. We're desperately waiting and looking forward to the lovely and talented Tucky. Here is a friend of ours who I have no doubt you will not have a clue where he came from. You're going to think this guy came Lower Silesia or somewhere, or East Anglia, but no. I'll just let you guess, and I'm going to keep my mic on so I can add some comments. Any words that you hear that scare you or make you feel bad or itchy or tingly, it's probably a good word. Here we go.
Like a melting flake of snow.
Are you from Ireland? Holy shit!
Sad to see it.
I'd have never guessed.
Hi, I'm Darren F. Flynn, a singer-songwriter from
Hello,
Ireland,
Darren.
and I'm on Live with Neve.
Yes, you are.
I would have said it couldn't happen here. The people we
Here we go.
Hey guys, my name's Eli Alger, and I'm here on Live with Neve.
All right, Eli will be joining me next week, or no, when I'm down in Nashville or Knoxville or wherever the hell I'm going to be. I got a bunch of stops, but yes. And so now, without any further ado, the lovely, the talented, the vivacious, the wonderful, and only one and only Tucky Parkis. Good morning.
Hi, Neve. How are you?
I couldn't be better. I've got your smiling face here to start the day with me. First person I've seen. My girlfriend left the building earlier than I did, and so I'm just sort of sitting here with two cats looking at me, going, they're like, "What's up, man?" And I said, "Tucky's here, so they're here for you." What can I tell you?
Ah, well, meow and meow.
Meow. Absolutely. So what's happening? You've been busy. I know you worked on a new album. Tell us a little bit about that before we get into all the other cool stuff.
Well,
you're doing.
I didn't work on a new album per se, but I put out in 2021, I put out a music video called Callin' It.
Yes.
And
I
then
remember.
recently I did some recording with a beautiful singer named Tracy Tota, and we did a lovely rendition of I'd Rather Go Blind by
Nice.
Etta James.
Etta James.
And it's just a wonderful song. And I'm
man.
proud of it because the first three notes after the drums kick in, the drums go like, tss, 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 tss. And then the first three notes are me. Really happy with how it came out, and I'm really proud of it. Even though it's a cover song, I just put so much heart and soul with it. And I have to say that my best friend, my partner in crime, Dave Dawson, also known as Deep Pocket Dave or Dangerous Dave,
All right.
got me on the gig, and I was number one, the only female musician, and number two, the
Excellent.
only person of paleness in the room. So
I'm
cool.
familiar with that, being a drummer. I've been in many bands where they're all like, "Who's the white boy?" You know, they're
Yeah.
like, "He's all right for a white guy. He's cool." You know, like you got to get. In fact, in my life, like yours, I've been found myself in many really cool places. You know what a blind pig is? It's a certain
Yeah.
type of bar. Well, I went in one that was actually called the Blind Pig when I was about 18, and it was literally right out of Animal House. May we dance with your dates? Sure. Chicks are like, anyway, life is cool. That's excellent. Are you still playing with your little regular band that you do on the side?
Yeah, I have a reggae band that I play with
That's
about, once a month, and then I play with a variety of different people as a bass player, and I sit at home and record my own
of
cover
course.
tunes. However, I don't really sing that much, so
Hmm.
so I'm always having to have another vocalist cover my vocals. I
Well,
mean,
if you ever want another vocalist, call me up. I'd love this. I love any project I can get. I'm a singing drummer, and so I do all kinds of shit.
oh
I mean.
wow, that's great.
So I was
I
just
would
saying,
love
I'm
to have you
here if you
sing.
ever need any help. I love, new compilations. In fact, the tour I'm going out on was one of my earliest guests, Gina Jones. And I think she's going to be on with me this afternoon. I'm waiting for the final call. She's
Groovy,
she's cool.
groovy.
Yeah, she's a hip, very, very hardworking, bust ass. She wrote a book called The Madam of Music Row. In fact, today it's advertising in the New York Post. She's kicking ass on Amazon, doing great. The book, um, a lot of people look down their nose at people who have to do things they really hate doing at times in their life where it's just a horrible situation. And I never look down my nose at people. I've been homeless a time or two, and it's a horrible thing. And I'll just say this: whatever she's had to do, she had to do it for a reason. And if you read the book, it'll make some people really thankful for the life they've lived. But the one thing about her, I like people who get back up after getting the shit cracked out of them. She's gotten up on her feet. She will not, if you hit her again in the face, she'll get back up again, even with a blue, and then she'll spit in your face and tell you fuck off because she's a tough broad. And I like that. In fact, it's kind of funny because a couple of weeks ago, she misinterpreted. I was kind of frazzled, and I was sending her some stuff, and instead of like, I just vented, right? I went, oh, my motherfucking day, my car broke down, I'm in the snow, it's just fucking nuts. And she thought I was like dissing on her. I get this terse email an hour later. I was like, oh my God, I wasn't fucking with you. Honestly, I was in one of those days where nothing was going right. And I called her back. I said, no. I said, one thing you learn about me, I'm not passive aggressive. If I don't like something, I'm not going to scream at you. There we go. What do we got here? Music, NAMM's new chair. So let me ask you, you ended up meeting this gentleman and interviewing him, didn't you?
I did not meet. This is the chairman. I
Oh,
actually got to meet and interview the CEO of NAMM, John Malenzak, and it's a
okay.
wonderful interview. I have it queued up if you're interested in seeing it, and
Yeah.
I also have a piece of the Tracy Tota piece that I did.
There he is. John Linzak.
Jasmine Sandler here with JSM for Artists at the NAMM Show. So excited to be here. It's been a long, beautiful week of meeting some amazing people in music and music education and women in music. And I have the fortune of sitting here with John Malinzak, the CEO of NAMM. And we're going to talk, as I always do, about how we can support independent artists in a broad spectrum. So if you don't mind, John, I have some questions for you today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for being here. Thank you for covering our show. And it's nice to sit down with you. It's nice to sit down after a very long week.
Right. That's what we're doing. We're resting our feet for 20 minutes. Right?
Exactly. Exactly.
All right. So first of all, how NAMM, if you could tell a little bit about like how NAMM supports independent artists from a career development standpoint, from an education standpoint, from a business standpoint.
Yeah, it's in our industry, we're traditionally a collection of member companies, but we've recognized for many years, and even more this year, and I'll get into some of the changes we made, that a lot of people make it in our industry by doing a collection of activities.
Yeah,
You know, we know this. You know, even people that might be, I'm an employee of company A, but I also have a podcast and I also gig here and I also like to repair this. And I have this person working on a movie and that's kind of cool. I want to get into that. So we are a collection of independent entrepreneurial spirit. We are an industry of the entrepreneurial spirit. So what we do at NAMM is we make sure that our three most important things that we do with the show, which is networking, education, and exhibits, we cover the spectrum of all the areas that people are trying to find in their careers. So in our education sessions, we're very deliberate to make sure we're hitting all the topics and providing a broad enough menu so that that independent entrepreneur can find all the pieces that they're working on and discover. From the products out on the floor, they're finding all the connections they have from the networking receptions that they can find each other.
Okay, and it's so I know in April, I spoke here in April, right? Because I'm post-COVID year, but it's generally in January each year. Beyond that, what are some of the other programs like during the year that independent artists can take advantage of?
Right. No, it's a really good question. You know, one of our biggest focuses right now is year-round member services for our members, and that's a place that we have a 3-year growth plan to find, because traditionally our members have always been companies.
Yes.
And then we count companies, and now immediately we count companies and their employees and individuals, because we recognize that the independent entrepreneur or anyone working in the gig economy, you're working with our products industry, you're giving value to musical products and creating more music makers. But if traditionally, if you didn't work for company A, you weren't a NAMM member. So we changed that. So now you can join NAMMs. If you're working with musical products, you can be an individual NAMM member. Yeah. And that's new, and that's something we're bringing into the show. We have over 3,100 individual NAMM members now here taking advantage of that. Now, because of the rapid success of that, we have to look at our year-round member benefits that are traditional company-based and think about how do we do that for independent artists. So we've announced NAMM Next over the summer, which is our new professional development and growth summit.
And anybody can take advantage of that? Or?
Any NAMM member can come to NAMM Next. No, that's going to be a small, high-level leadership event, but we definitely, it's good to know that we looked at that and said it's not only for companies, it's for independent entrepreneurs, it's for companies and their employees. We are now thinking as NAMM of companies, their employees, and the individual members that add value. And so you'll see a lot more online education. You'll see a lot more community building throughout the year. This is a new area for us, and we're really excited to bring folks in and learn from them. We have a new audience.
Yeah.
Who are we to tell them what they need? We listen and we learn and we engage.
That's all about market research.
I've done this before.
A little bit. But let me ask you something that I loved about this year is the whole podcast area and some of the newer exhibitors that you have. As a podcaster myself, can you talk to us just for a second about that lane? And did they approach you like the Zooms of the world, or what happened?
I don't know who started the conversation. We were both just as eager. Okay. So we recognize, and this was prior to 2020, but especially in the past 3 years, we recognize the boom of folks that need audio skills that didn't come from the traditional, I want to produce an album path. I need to produce a podcast. Yeah. And so we've seen that growth, and our member companies have been on that make the products. But we recognize, one, that we have people that need to learn musical skills, editing, sound, production, that might not be doing it for guitars. They might be doing it for content. Yep. So they need a home. Where is their home? We're their home, right? So we want to embrace them. Yeah. And then second, the podcasters, the content creators, the Instagrammers, the TikTokers, they tell our story bigger and better than most. Absolutely. And so we needed to get our retailers and our manufacturers and our traditional companies to see the world that's talking about them. Yeah. Right? Absolutely. And so this is why we embrace it. This elevates our industry.
Yeah, and I think they probably learn. Because I was on the floor a lot this week, right? Talking to both. And I saw, in some of the manufacturing companies, it seems like they're learning from the new age and the digital age. So I think it's mutually beneficial, right?
This is what we do. We are an association. Yeah. We bring together the right people so they can associate. Yes. So our thing, it's like it's one big mixer, right? This channel, I need this. Oh, we don't have enough influencers in the monitor. Let's add some here. Oh, we need podcasters. Right. Oh, now we need their gear. Yeah. We just have to create the right mix, and then magic happens.
I love it. Let's talk a little bit about Women of NAMM or NAMM Women.
Yes.
So I I run Warrior Women in Business, which has always been about helping female entrepreneurs and female artists get the education and connections that they need, right? So I love to see NAMM Women growing. Can you talk a little bit about how that came about and where that's going and how women might be able to take advantage of that, women in the arts?
Absolutely. And you saw the incredible success of the Women in NAMM program the other night and the She Rocks Awards.
Yeah.
And the history, I think in 2018, we had 3 incredibly powerful female business leaders that got together at an industry event and said, we've got to do something about this male-dominated industry. So they started at the time, which was called Smart Women in Music, and created these sort of pillars of growth and started a movement. Well, of course, immediately and incredibly successful. And within 2 years, we said, no, this is Women of NAMM. So we made it Women of NAMM, so it changed to that, so we can embrace it in our industry, because NAMM and music industry are interchangeable, right?
Yeah,
and
absolutely, yeah.
So we then took that on, and then even this past year, we saw the success in April of the Women in NAMM gathering. And again, I like to say, we, as an association first, we're not just a trade show, we're an association.
Absolutely.
We put on a trade show because our people want to gather.
Yes, I understand.
We do the work our members want to do.
Yeah.
And when we see these like rapid growth elements of,
Yeah.
of females in the industry, not only bringing females in the industry, but seeing what females are doing in our industry in a big way, we knew we need to invest. So when we restructured to create more member services, like I mentioned, for the independents, we focus on year-round member services. We've brought Women of NAMM into a core member service. So any NAMM member being part of the Women of NAMM programming is a NAMM member benefit.
Oh,
We fund it.
okay.
So now the Women of NAMM
that's
is
wonderful.
funded by NAMM member dues.
Oh,
That's part of a service you get, as well as NAMM Young
realize.
Professionals. We have another group that provides services and mentorship for anyone under 40 in our industry. So those 2 groups are funded and part of NAMM's member services. In addition, we brought the She Rocks Awards here, the Women in Music Network.
fantastic, yeah.
They were here on Thursday.
Right.
So, because we wanted to create multiple days of programming, we awarded a new female entrepreneur a special award, and we have a new program that allows them to get granted booths for like new female startup businesses.
Oh, that's
We
fantastic.
piloted that program this year.
Yeah.
So we are absolutely invested in creating an incredibly diverse industry and I truly believe that we need everyone in this industry to understand how we empower each other, how we
Absolutely.
celebrate each other's success, right? I'm a music person. The best ensembles, everyone's working together.
Yes, absolutely. Me too.
So
I understand. Well, hopefully you're one of the industries that's going to lead in bringing, and balancing things out.
absolutely.
As we talk about in Warrior Women in Business, the gender pay gap, and all these things, and it's just so nice to see, and I've seen it on the floor, the connections that are happening.
It's the connections
Yeah,
of the women groups.
great.
It's the demonstration of the success of female leaders, but it's also educating the men.
Oh,
And that
course.
group and the amount of men that were at that thing saying, "Oh, you know what?" And the podcast that women put out. I had a board member talking to me the other day saying, "I listened to the Women in NAMM podcast. I had no idea what my female employees are thinking. I immediately know I need to change my behavior because I didn't recognize." And they listen to one 1-hour podcast.
Yeah,
And that's the kind of work we do. That's why we fund the podcast. That's why we get that message out.
I love it. So you're new to the role, yeah?
8 months, 28 days, and 45 minutes.
Okay. Well, first of all, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's no easy feat. It's a big organization to have. So what's your as a leader? What are your priorities? What do you want to see happen? Let's say in the next year.
Yeah.
Man.
Well, we've set forth immediately. We again, after the past few years, what NAMM needs to do is we need to serve our industry. I really mean that. And so when you have a big transition in leadership, when you have one of the world's largest disruptions to our industry ever,
Absolutely.
and then you have those at the same time, everything creates opportunity. So what we look at is this is a time where we need to listen and learn, right? It would be the easy way would be to fall back to the way things were and pull the playbook. Oh, thank God that's over. What's the playbook? I'm running it. I'm not running that playbook. So like I said, listen and learn.
Yeah.
I personally, I make sure I talk to one NAMM member company a day. I try to reach out to the CEOs of different companies or the leaders. I encourage my employees, to talk to member companies, we need to make sure we have, and I will say this too, we have the best team in the world at NAMM. These people work at NAMM with passion and drive. Yeah. And so my role, yes, it's very hard, but I will say what makes it incredibly easy and what allows me to get through the day, I'm surrounded by the best people in the world. Yep. I take care of those people. I keep them calm. I keep them focused. I make sure that they're listening to our NAMM members, because these people will spend 28 hours in a day. They'll find it. They'll make more hours in a day and serve our members. So all I have to do is keep them healthy and make sure they're listening to our members so their energy is in the right direction. So when Women in NAMM is rapidly taking off, yes, support that. When NAMM WebP is taking off, yes, support that. When the need to get in independent music makers through our individual membership, yes, I just focus amazing people. And then I get all the credit. It's amazing.
It's great to be a leader, isn't it? Well, that's fantastic. And it does take a team. And I've seen it. It's when my second show speaking. And I'm like, wow, there's a difference here. You can kind of feel it in the air.
We care. We serve. I mean, everyone, our team's here. You show up, do you water? What do you need? What do you need? We're servants. We're a nonprofit association. We're not a for-profit trade show. Yeah. There's a difference.
Now my big question.
Uh-oh.
Are you ready?
I'm always ready.
All right. So as I did an interview with a friend of mine that runs Midtown Comics, because we do a lot in that world as well. And that the world of comic books is completely changing because of music and film, right? That was last week. So for you, where do you see the future of the music business industry, the music industry, retail, manufacturing, e-retail, artist involvement? What changes do you believe are going to drive the economic progression of the industry?
Wow, that was a really good one. Economic progression industry. So if I was to sum up what I think my job is, 20 years from now, when I retire, maybe 30, we'll see. I need to measure success based on based on the size of the industry. That's why I'm excited about this question. And this is what you're getting at right on. You're super sharp. Our job as the association is to make the pie bigger forever. And that's where it makes it so hard, because we have to measure in music makers. We have to measure in the amount of people that are learning playing instruments, the amount of people that are innovating and starting new ways to create products and new ways to create instruments. So growing that overall pie, the size, the diameter or circumference, however you want to measure the circle, that's how we need to measure it. And at the same time, what we have to do at NAMM is we have all these companies and all these individuals that are working for their business, and we love them and support them. But a lot of people are focused on their shape of the pie. And what makes it interesting for us is we support them, but what we have to do is stay laser focused on growing this pie and not preserving one person's size. Because what they don't realize is they're looking at their sliver, but if the whole pie grows, their sliver actually gets bigger. And so I'll speak more specifically now. What we do is everything we do, all of our, we're a nonprofit, so we take our funds and our member dues, and we get other companies to invest with us, and we actually go out and run programming to create more music makers. And so we donate to multiple organizations that go out and provide services, different nonprofits. That's a big piece of it. I've had a lot of conversations here with our members about how we can work together on whether it's ad campaigns or PSAs or artist endorsements, of just getting people to talk about how our industry is not just measured in sales of products according to UPC codes and commerce, but it's actually the number of young people that decide to pick up an instrument and start playing. We look at lifespan of music making to make sure that a kid that might leave high school who played trumpet keeps it and realizes that he'll find a community ensemble, or or maybe go into engineering and start making mixers or whatever. So careers in music's another big initiative. So again, we look at our foundation. We look at the size of music makers, and we talk to our members about it. Because the universal truth is, if there's more music makers, there's more customers, and the whole industry thrives. And we do it with partners. That's the other thing, too. We don't do anything alone. There's nothing we do at NAMM that we say, we have to do that. It's always the partner. I'll be at the Grammys next week. We talked about a great conversation about, okay, you represent this group, we represent these group, but your group's using our products to make this. So we're talking very nicely. We have multiple partners, Audio Engineer Society, and on and on and on.
Absolutely.
International partnership, and we are global. So I have literally 5 hours of international association meetings today, back to back. We talked to every association about shared goals to grow.
I didn't know that. So are there, is at the international level, are there kind of like rules and regulations or ways that you're moving this industry forward together, and how do you measure that?
Yes, and every country has a different need and different way to do it. Well, again, you measure it in like enthusiasm for music makers. So you have models, what we do in our industry insights initiatives, we work with all the different international associations, and we say, okay, in Germany, you've solved this problem, but in Latin America, they're just starting to have this problem. Or in Japan, they actually for example, in the Asian countries, Japan and China, they've really invested in lessons for elderly. 30% of the lessons that happen in retail stores in Japan are actually retirees. And they realize there's a market there. And so now we look at other areas that aren't even capitalized in that. So we bring together international coalitions. We, with all of our partner associations, they share with us their successes and challenges. And then we collect it all. And then we share back through these reports that we do, because everyone learns from each other.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. Yes. Of course.
And that's what, if everyone's working with the same information, everyone's empower each other, everyone wins. That's what we do. We are the great combiner.
Yeah. And I noticed that yesterday at the end of one of the panels, I was in the back and I noticed the audience questions, and a lot of the audience were from different countries. And I was thinking to myself, I wonder how they're sharing this. So I like that,
124 countries are here this week.
Wow.
And our membership is 36% international. We think about the world. Because more music makers anywhere helps our companies everywhere.
Absolutely. Okay, so one last question, because I know you don't have it. What did you say? You have back-to-back international meetings?
5 hours of meetings.
I'm not gonna hold you up, and I think you should eat something. But anyway, so last question. Resources. So this is all about providing resources. So any resources that you want to list, either NAMM or non-NAMM related, for independent artists across the spectrum, music, film, anything that you think is worth it for people to take a look at in terms of resources?
The best resource that anyone has in this industry is people. I mean, we are. I said it Thursday morning. We are not the music products industry. We're the music people industry.
Love it.
People are our greatest resource. That's why this gathering is magical, because you can't replace this. You can't Zoom this.
I know.
And so my best advice is connect with the people through the app.
Yeah.
We're looking at more networking things on our site. Connect with our people. Connect with other societies, and don't be afraid as an independent artist to walk up and say, "I am John, and I do all of this." I think sometimes, because I talk to a lot of folks, like they don't know how to identify themselves. And I'm vice president of so-and-so, or I'm producer of this. It's like, well, I'm this and this and this.
Yeah, I understand.
I am John, and I have value, and do you have any advice for me? Because I am here because of mentors.
That's right. Yep.
People are our best resource.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely. Happy to.
And I think the audience is really going to learn from this and take action. So again, this is John, the new CEO of NAMM. And for those of you that haven't attended NAMM, it's like no other experience from an education, networking, social standpoint, which we didn't talk about today. But NAMM is lovely, and I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right. I'm gonna tell you, man. How about it? You got Tucky, Parkis. What a great. I'm so happy that you were able to bring that to us, because I was super bummed. I haven't made it now, and I'll just say this: I will see you there next year if you're gone. I will definitely gonna be there, because I find that if I'm not out there every year or two, I just start to spaz. I love it out there. I've come so close.
Oh my gosh, it was the most fun experience of my life.
Was that your first NAMM?
Oh, no, it's not my first NAMM. My very first NAMM, I broke my wrist.
Oh.
On January 5th, and I went to NAMM on the 27th. Right. So I was I had cast and drugs, geez. And I couldn't. Oh, it was awful. And what I wanted to say was that was my camera work. I did the filming on that one.
Excellent.
And I also filmed her keynote address as well, that she did later. And that girl is a warrior woman in business and music, and she's a heavy metal singer. And we have a group called Silent Fury. That is her group.
I was just looking at your page because I was going to have some music if it led that way, but continue. I think it's great. I'm really that you're really doing some interesting stuff. I mean, not just musically. I have to, after looking at your thing, I'm going to take the interview slightly to the right because I had Tampa as my former home for like 30 years.
Oh, I love it. I'm about to build a tiny home studio in
Well,
Tampa.
I saw that you that's what I wanted to talk to you about. Tell me a bit about the project and our fans because this sounds cool to me for a number of reasons, which we'll talk about off air. I
Oh,
read
yeah.
just you have the floor for a few minutes. Tell us about it.
Well, thank you. My mother lives in Tampa and has a beautiful lot right across the river. I mean, right across the street from the Hillsborough River, and it's absolutely gorgeous. And she
North
has
Tampa?
it's in Old Seminole Heights.
Oh man, what a great upcoming neighborhood. That's so cool.
Oh, it is beautiful, and it's very much old Florida, which I love. Her house is an old Florida style, meaning it's low, it's wide with a lot of windows.
Right.
And it's a small house on a very large lot. So I love to stay with my mom, and as she ages, she's going to need some more care. And
Mhm.
I love Tampa and I love Florida as much as I love New York. I
Sure.
have a studio here in my bedroom called
Mhm.
Kentucky Fried Studio, and so this will be Kentucky Fried Studio South,
I
and
love it.
it's going to build if everything works out with the city and they don't mess me over. I'll be able to build a 2-story tiny home studio, and I'm not sure if I'll put the studio upstairs or if I'll put it downstairs. Probably downstairs, and then if you're upstairs you'll be able to see across to the river, and it's going to be so beautiful. I'm really excited. I'm hoping to make it ecological so I can use reclaimed woods and I can use, perhaps this thing called cob, which is a mix of sand, mud, and straw, which hardens
It
and will
hardens
make
into
those.
like adobe almost.
Yeah, it's like adobe, and those houses will last 1,000 years.
Right.
And you can make them so that they self-cool, and then I'm going to collect rainwater and I'm going to run it with solar panels on the top and everything
Very
I can
nice.
do so that my studio will be beautiful.
Hell
And it'll
yeah.
be cool because I'll be able to be at my mom's home without being
In
sleeping in her
mom's
house
house.
because I have
Absolutely.
too much energy, I'm too loud, I keep weird
Oh, you
hours.
know what? For both of you, it's better if you think about it. Let me ask you. It appeared that somebody did a news story on you about opening a tiny park community there. Now, is that what you're planning to do?
I'm just going to build one single home at this time because that's what we have space for. But if depending on what it's going to show me when I get the plot map with all the dimensions and everything and what the city allows, we might be able to put two on there. And
Hmm,
then one we would use for guests and maybe like an Airbnb so that we can
right.
generate a little income when I'm not here. Because my
Sure.
mom is a snowbird. She comes to New York, and like I'm a snowbird, I go down south. So we're
Ah, I
my
gotcha.
my sister and the family and the kids and everything is up here
Right.
and in Boston too. So it'll be a beautiful way to live. I can do recording while I'm in New York. I can do
Recording in
recording while I'm
Florida.
down in Tampa, and I'm looking forward to the acoustic treatments. That's really fascinating to me
Oh
because
yeah.
I found that you can, like, if you're building the home and you have a lot of cuts of wood left over, you can take those cuts of wood and put
Diffusers.
them together and make, like bass bins to, you
When
know.
you decide to do that, I'm really well versed in studio design, and I used to actually build quadratic diffusers. I've done it for a studio my friend Jeff Arthur opened in Florida. So when you have an idea, I can tell you the viability of it acoustics wise, and I can actually tell you how many dB it'll help. Um, I could right
Oh,
now give a whole lecture on sound. I love talking the sound of physics. I turn into a total nerd, and my
oh, I've
geek
been.
side comes out. I'm like totally okay. We can get it 100 dB down, with a 400 hertz wave, which is the bottom of the
Oh,
bass.
I'm so excited because
We
I know a lot about construction, but what I don't know a lot about is
you,
um the audio treatments and the things that you know
Well,
about.
you know
So you'd
what?
be
You're
the
building
perfect
it from the
person.
ground up, and that's the best thing. Because usually, when people want me to help them do a studio and make it quiet or make it more boomy or whatever, you remember a lot of those studios in the '70s, how you walk in, doo, dunk, dunk, it's dead end of the room, and then the live end over there. Well, nowadays, I don't know about you, but most of the recording I do with anybody, we're all in headphones. They're all gathered around me. I can see them. They can see me. We hear to perfection. And it's just like, it's funny. My girlfriend says to me, well, how are you going to have rehearsals? Because our neighbors don't really like hearing my band rehearse.
Yep.
But I said, well, I'm going to use my electric drum kit. We're all going to have a great headphone mix. I bought a really powerful headphone amp. And then a friend of mine donated to the cause and got me an exceptional pair of wired headphones for like when you're listening to track stuff, or like if I'll go over with those headphones, you can walk over in front of a cabinet with the headphones on. It's a trick I learned like 40 years ago. Find the sweet spot on a speaker. The
Oh,
first time
wow.
somebody told me that, the engineer, one of my teachers, I was just being an assist, meaning I was getting coffee, moving mics, and groveling, doing whatever they needed as quickly and as efficiently as I could. Like I tried to preempt everything that they were going to do and know it beforehand. And I became a good assistant because you really can't be a decent engineer if you haven't had somebody like him or a bunch of mentors, which I've had. And it's a good thing because I love this shit. I mean, it doesn't, I know you've been doing this a long time. In fact, I want to ask you, because you've been on with us before, but your fans and our fans, how did you start playing music? Like what, when, how, and why?
Well, quite frankly, I don't mean to talk about my mom so much,
That's
but
okay.
when she was pregnant with me, she would, the baby would start kicking,
Kicking.
and she would put the radio on top of her stomach, and
Right.
then I would calm down, and she would feel a rhythm that would match the music.
I wonder if there's any study in that other than, I mean, I've seen some like pop studies that say it and helps enhance brain cognitions, things like that. But I'm really curious, like, I know somebody had to have researched this because I'm the only guy in my entire family had in 2 to 3 generations who had any real musical talent. My grandmother played piano horribly. My mom had a German piano player teacher rather, and when my mom was like 9 or something, about the age I started playing drums, she made the teacher so frustrated. She was just a real old crabby bitch, I guess. She'd smack my mom with the ruler or the baton, and then she told her mom, she can't take lessons here anymore. She's a menace to society on the piano. I can't imagine being a kid and hearing that. That would have cut me in half, man, But it's interesting. So continue. Your mom got you hooked basically because it's been part of your life since
Oh
in
yeah, so
utero. And
I came out singing and dancing, and when I was about 2, my uncles gave me it was a recorder, one of those little plastic flutes, but it was shaped like a saxophone,
okay,
and I just went crazy. And then after that, I created a guitar out of a piece of wood and some shoestrings, even though it didn't make any sound. My
that's all
girlfriend
right.
and I, and then my uncles would. I didn't know that my uncles were been having a little bit
Oh,
too much
having a little
of this,
puff.
and they would come home and they'd be high, and they would get me and my girlfriends and put us up on the dining room table and make us sing and dance all the songs. I know every lyric to every song from the 50s on forwards
That's
from
really cool.
that. And then after I started to be a pianist, and I was spending my whole childhood playing up and down, then I was involved in a car accident, and the car accident messed up my right hand, which I've had many problems with over the years.
Right.
However, I also had been playing tuba and in the drum
Wow.
corps with snare drum. So my boyfriend
Wow.
said, he says, listen, there's an instrument that it doesn't matter about your hand, and you can play tuba and drums at the same time. And I was like, what? And he said, it's called the bass guitar. And I carried on playing piano, and I still play the piano. But
I have to ask you, what made you pick the tuba of all the instruments?
Oh my gosh. I always love things that are big and loud and shiny, and I drive a big truck, and I just
It's
like this
interesting.
feeling of riding a dragon.
It's interesting because you don't hear it a lot in popular music. Now, Elvis Costello used it on Spike, on the song Pads, Paws, Pats and Claws. Paws, Pads, Pats and Claws. I think that's what it's called. But it has the whole bass throughout the whole song is boo, boo. And a lot of people hear it and they're like, what the hell is that? It's like, it's a fucking tuba. And here's another, this is Synchronicity Week. Carlton Wilkinson just talked to me last week about starting to track some of his songs. I started looking at his old CD and listening to it just to get a little idea, like listening to it, not with the listening as a consumer of music, but I was trying to get into his head, hear
Yeah.
how he writes, and I was almost trying to kind of when I record, I want to hear what all the stuff he's done, so I know kind of where his head's at, and I'm going to try to acculturate myself to that what he does because it'll make it easier for both of us, and
Yes.
you know,
When
but. I think it's great though because I had to ask you about the tuba because his album when I looked at it and I saw a tuba, I had the reaction of that is cool. That I got to hear this song first now just because I went and I always loved it. It can replace a bass in some things big time and it's different. I have only one other friend I know who's ever fucking used one on an album and I think it's great you've been doing
Oh,
that.
I got the beautiful opportunity to meet Howard Johnson, who was one of the greatest
Fish
tuba
chips?
players of the.
No, I'm
It's funny.
sorry.
He's got the same name as as the hotel chain, but he
Yes.
was one of the greatest tuba players ever, and he
Yeah.
had a.
Didn't he have a book, a Mel Blay book or something? Showed
Yep, he had a Mel Bay book, and he put out an album with all tuba because he arranged the parts beautifully. He also played bass clarinet, and he was playing in the New York City at a place on 7th Avenue, and I got to go see him a few times. And
mm-hmm.
I swear, I pulled my chair slap up to the edge as far as they would allow me to pull it, and I stuck my head in that tuba, and I was like, ah!
I love it.
Oh my God.
Now, when you were you doing this and growing up? Were you in Kentucky at that time, or were you just named because of the family
Well,
past?
I was
Or
named Kentucky because when I was born, they didn't do the cheating and look it inside. So I was supposed to be the first grandson, and my grandfather's name is Kenneth. And I was born in Kentucky, and the word Kentucky means 7 hills. It's an Indian word. And my
okay,
family is 80% American Indian. We're Blackfoot tribe, which
interesting.
no longer exists. And although I've got one great grandparent that's Irish, I came out with a pale skin and red hair.
Mm-hmm.
But not all American Indians have,
Right.
the Western, sort of Mexican black, black eyes and black hair look.
Sure.
The tribes from the Northeast were more pale,
Right.
and they don't exist anymore. So everybody looks at me and thinks I'm,
Well,
traditional
you have
white
the
woman,
high cheekbones, your facial structure. I could see that.
and my eyes are not blue.
Oh yeah, true.
They are
If
definitely not blue.
if you were
They're
just
not
some
black
Irish
either.
girl, yeah, you'd have green or blue eyes or hazel.
Yeah, and my skin color is more olive. It's
Do
not
you
pink.
sunburn easily?
Um, Not so much. I
Yeah.
usually tan out pretty well.
I would
I'm
think because I'm a Mediterranean mutt, being Italian, I never really get sunburn. I'll get red, but not like to the point where I'm burning, and I turn dark the next day. So I'm probably a
That's
walking
great.
skin cancer one day, but I'll worry about that when that comes down the pipe. You know what I mean?
Just
I've
want to
always used sunscreen and all that shit.
Well, very good. I did it on my face a lot.
Yeah.
I did want to mention one more thing that was the most fascinating part of the NAMM show was the Friday night headliner called My World with John Montalbano as the bass player. He's the leader and the singer, and along with John Montalbano, he had a guy named Max, and I forgot Max's last name, God bless him, but Max is an Hispanic man, but he learned how to do Tuvan throat singing.
Oh no shit!
I know,
Have
I've
you
never
seen that
heard it
Mongol
before.
band that does that? Have you
Oh
seen the
yeah,
heavy metal band? They're like,
oh yeah. I talked to him, and he's a
wow.
sweet guy. He's a big, thick mountain of a man with long hair and a beard, and I was so fascinating when
That
he
is,
said so.
did he demonstrate it?
Well, he performed with My World Band, and he does on the
Okay.
regular. So part of the time he's singing, backgrounds and harmonies not like normal. But there were those moments when he would let that thing loose. You would hear the bass drum hit, the bass guitar would hit, and that voice would
Wow.
come out. And I was taking a film of it, and the whole room was vibrating.
Vibrating.
I was vibrating from my head to my feet.
Oh,
I literally was screaming and crying. You should have seen the people. They were going nuts. When he
Wow.
cut that thing loose, I was like, oh, I've never seen such a thing. It was
Remember, the bass is going to make you tingle a little. Woo! Yeah.
Oh, it makes you tingle from head to foot.
Absolutely.
It makes your heart beat more
You're
rapid.
absolutely right, because low
Oh, it's just-
frequencies, they can move things. And, the kind of shit geek physics music majors do is they take a beam and then attach it to an engine, an oscillating engine like you use in some oscillator-driven subwoofers. Then you take a sound pressure, a generator that can sweep from, say, 50 hertz up to, say, 25,000. And if you have neighbors upstairs, you can oscillate the floor and vibrate their furniture if you find the right frequency.
Yeah.
So
That's
it's kind
right.
of the kind of thing that you just try or allegedly you try when you live in a small apartment near Winter Park, and
That's
people
why
above are
I
a pain
have
in the
this
ass.
bass here with
Nice.
one piece of wood from the
Oh,
bottom to the top,
wow.
and the neck is on there. So when I play this, the whole bass is on my stomach and chest, and it's vibrating like mad.
I'm
And
sure.
I can pluck a note and go away and come back next week, and the note is still humming because of the vibrations of these woods. This is by Michael Tobias, handmade when he was between
Beautiful.
Alembic and pre Gibson.
Right.
So I called him, and he only made 3,000. And the one time I was calling about a technical. Oh, that was the mic.
Hopefully
the
nothing
stand.
too important.
I dropped the stand behind me.
It
But
happens.
I said something about I need some technical issues, and he said, "Well, what bass do you have?" And I described it. He goes, "Give me the serial number." I gave him the serial number, and he spit out all the specs of it and every little detail about it. And I said, "How do you know that? If you made so many thousands of basses?" He goes, "Every one of those is my child, Michael Tobias." I'm just like such a geek about instrument manufacturers who make it and take the time to use wood and technology. And I've played a million basses, the greatest, most expensive basses. I like this better than any of them.
Well, that's it. There's an American Indian tradition, it's like you're passing on a flute or things. It has more value than just the value of the wood. The person who makes it, there's soul in it, and people,
Oh,
that's how they would look
absolutely.
at it. And there's
Yeah.
a lot of artistic folks I've noticed, in particular woodworkers, guitar people. Like he called it his child, and I like that because he's like Les Paul was. He put his name on that guitar, and that's why he argued back and forth with the company over how good it was, and when they got sold to back and forth over the years, and nobody could tell Les much because he's like
No.
he,
I got to meet him twice.
me too. I got to go to his home and actually see his studio.
Really?
Oh my
Oh,
God! Because when I met him the first time, I told him the story. It was so great. I was not at NAMM. I was at AES at the Hilton, or as we call it, the toilet in New York. I hate that place. It smells of like decades of bad activity in there. They need an exorcism of that whole building. It's like I spent so much money, and then I wanted a room with a view, and I had the view of their fucking middle courtyard down at it was just horrendous. I was like,
poor thing.
and the worst thing was the guy I had to go with my boss was like he's one of those people who's not a positive, active, let's go do shit kind of a guy. He's like one of these old burnout sound guys whose best is way behind him. And it's just because he's got a cynical attitude. He doesn't trust anybody. And to work with him is like, I'd rather bite my finger off the tip.
Don't do that. You need them all for drumming.
Yeah, but you know what? I would just a tip, I'd still be able to play. I tell people, if you're going to be a drummer, man, get into the pain of it. Because it's ultimately, I'm so stoic when I go to the medical doctors. I'm like, just get your shit done. Last time I did it, the doc's putting a needle into my wrist. And he's got a sonogram thing on it, and he's looking at the TV. So I'm watching the sonogram with him. And he looks at me, he goes, "Are you okay?" I said, "You can just fucking hurry it up a bit." And that was all I had to say to him. And he said, "Okay." But I have to tell you, it was all I could do at that moment. I was just like, I wish you'd hurry it up, or I might just want to choke you. You're really starting to piss me off. This is not going well. It took him a few minutes, but again, I think drumming or playing any music at a professional level, if you expect to have a pain-free existence, forget about it. You play 6 nights out, I don't care what kind of music and how great your chops are. Even guys at the top, like, I'm sure Waddy Wachtel on the tour he's on right now with Stevie Nicks, his fingers hurt sometimes. Look at you're all beat up there.
I got copper bracelets. I wear copper all the time. I wear copper on this wrist.
Has it made a difference?
Absolutely. The copper is what keeps me, flowing and agile and feeling
Right.
great.
Now, do you play with your fingers or you use a pick?
I understand that I was using a pick back in the day when we were playing metal, and they like that kind of tingy
clicky
sound.
Right.
But then I started studying. I got the pleasure to study with Vince Breedice, who was Jaco Pastore's teacher, and he taught many of the great bass players and guitar players. And I used to go to Vince, and Vince said, "Put that crap away. You're playing with your fingers. Your sound comes from wood and your fingers and whatever material is on the strings." Also, when you were mentioning that the teacher used to smack your mom with a ruler, well,
Right.
Vince Breedice, if you play something and make a mistake, he'll give you a correction. And if you play it again and make the same mistake, he'll smack you. And he was pulling my hair and stuff like that. So I started showing up with all my hair on top in a bun, so he couldn't pull my hair. Then he
Now
started
that's
smashing
funny.
my fingers on the board, and people were going, "That's so abusive." And I'm like, he's paying attention, deep attention to what I'm doing and
Yeah.
making me better. And I'm like, if you want to smack me 100 times, I won't.
I get it, because it's not like he's slapping the shit out of you. It's like he was focusing you, because
he was making me not do that.
I'll say this: the old woman who used to smack on my mom said she really whacked her pretty good. But I had a drum teacher who was very similar, and he was the drummer for Sun Ra for decades. Clifford Jarvis.
Oh, really? I know another Sun Ra drummer, which is Craig Holiday Haynes, the son of the great Roy Haynes, who played with.
Oh shit! Yeah, Roy.
And he was with Sun Ra.
Wow. Well, that was after. I had to do post Clifford dying, because he was an old guy. When I got lessons from him, there was a thing called the Jazz Workshop back in the 70s up in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, and it was great. One night I just was hearing jazz music playing. I heard like bebop and shit. And I'm sitting there every Thursday. The boarding school would let us go into town and have a bus and stay till like 9:30 or 10. So I hear the bebop, and finally I see somebody coming out of the building, and I go, "Hey, where's that jazz coming from?" And the guy goes, "Oh, it's upstairs. It's the Jazz Workshop. There's a concert every Thursday night."
Wow.
I run up the stairs, go in there, and that was the beginning of my knowledge of jazz.
Oh, that's awesome.
I was listening to jazz, but couldn't play it. I had at school, I'd practice it all the time. I was in the Steely Dan. That's not really jazz. That's just good music. But I thought I was a really hot shit player. And one lesson with him, he took the George Lawrence Stone book out. And I got there, he wasn't like any drum teacher I've ever had. He sat there and he had a beer in a bag. It's like, the middle of the afternoon on a Saturday. He goes, "I want to hear you play this. Play this from top to bottom. First page in the George Lawrence Stone book. It's a bunch of paradiddles, rootadiddles, paradiddles, slamadiddles." So I'm not like the best reader back then, but I had it intellectually down, but I just hadn't been put on the spot with a band ever. Because all the bands I played in, I had memorized the material. I knew it.
Yeah.
I start playing, and I'm fucking trying to think I'm a hot dog. And he goes, "Quit all that fancy shit. I just want you to play the book. Don't fucking add nothing." I went, "Okay." Fuck, that's not working. I was thinking I was going to show him with my chops how bad I was. So
they don't care about
he's the kind of guy who would do this with the right hand. I still practice that and try and do it, and I'm good at it, but it's not like he was good at it. This man, after playing drums for 60 something years, when I met him, he was 70. It was unbelievable. So I get down about 3/4, I'm starting to go, fuck, I'm almost off of this. This is harder than I thought. Because he kept going, I heard that. Go back to the top of the page. Happened about 5, 6 times. And I was
Wow.
I got out of there. I was so worn out. I went back. My friends were all waiting to hear, how'd it go? I said, man, that fucking guy kicked my ass. Like, physically, he comes over and tells me to do a double stroke roll as long as I can. He wants to see how long I can just da, 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 da. And it's good, though. He never beat me, though. But he did. You couldn't slip shit by him, and I wasn't that great.
He browbeat you.
He had that voice, man. He sounded like Miles Davis. I was always afraid he's going to kick my ass or something, you know. He wasn't a guy like me. I'm a man of a million words, as my grandfather was set up. And I'm very much like my granddad. I'm his namesake.
Aw.
When I do the show, I often think of him because I'm like, well, what would Pop do? He'd come up with something fucking witty to say. Where am I at, you know? He was a smart ass, and life is funny. I do too. And the best part of it, his sense of humor was really good. And at his cremation, after it was all over, we had to rent a boat and go out to sea.
Aw.
So he had a good laugh at our expense. We're out on this boat off Palm Beach, like 2-3 miles out. Rain is starting to wisp in a little bit. It's an awful day. The night before, we all sat at a bar. My mom, my aunt, his ex-wife, his wife, and the whole family, and our, plus twos. And we were hammered. So in the morning, we have to get up early to be at the boat by 9. And we're just like all sick and hot. We didn't go home till 2 in the morning. We were already getting older, man. Those people don't drink except New Year's Eve, you know? Everybody's hammered. Well, we start to dump it, and then the wind changes, and it blows it all over me, my mom, and his ex-wife, his wife, I'm saying. We're just like, it's covering me, and I'm starting to laugh because it was so fucked up. I almost, everybody else was going, ah! You know? And I'm like, my mom fucking kicked me in the leg, like knocked it off with the laugh and shit. It was funny, and life is those moments.
Grandpa got you back.
Grandpa
totally laugh.
He got the total laugh because I could just see him in heaven saying to his wife, "Christ, Lorraine," But it was one of those things that it's a nice story, and
that's
I don't
cute.
know. Sometimes when I run out of something to say, I just say to myself, "Come up with something. Why are you worried about it?" Like, when you do these shows and stuff, at first, I don't know about you, but the first time you had to play in front of an audience, it's terrifying. I mean, even if you're prepared. And I've had a few of those moments, like, since I was like 9 years old. But it's I think people like us never stop growing mentally. And I mean that anybody who's in a creative discipline where your plateaus are measured much farther as we get older. They used to come quicker, but as the better you get, it's harder to get really better. But I find it easier now than ever even if I haven't played with a band, I can just run in and do it. If I had take your song list and I'll go, I know all 25 of these. I know these like enough to we can hack through the whole thing, And I do think it's one of the best things for kids too, because even though kids are all innocent and stuff, I tell all the old people guys who are my age, who are always like, oh, kids' music all sucks. I'm like, you know what? You sound like our fucking grandparents or my parents.
Yep.
And, maybe you don't understand rap, but the first time I heard Fuck the Police, I was an 18-year-old heavy metal kid, and he dug me because I had a really good band going, working in Tampa, and he had a heavy metal band, and we just got on really well because, age has no matter or boundary with music. I mean, I could play with somebody 100 years old. I would be like, it would make me feel honored.
Roy Haynes, age 97. He's still got the Fountain of Youth Orchestra touring. Sheila Jordan, 96 or 97, touring the world as a jazz vocalist, leader of the show.
She is amazing, and the fact that she's out there doing it, and that's what I only can hope will keep myself, my musician friends and family, because once you get to know people in a band sense, I've always said it's the best way to quit. You can cut down racial, economic, socio-economic, sociological reasons. You fucking tone that shit and throw it out the door when a bunch of people get together, play some music. A few people are maybe having some wine, smoking a little weed, having a great time, and everybody is just into the feeling and the groove. And all the differences in walls we throw up just fucking go away for an hour or two, maybe three. And I love that feeling.
That reminds me of the female bass player who was the first chair for the Philadelphia Orchestra, and she was the first chair of the orchestra, and she was also the first chair bassist. And I saw a big article about her, and she was in her late 80s, and she was on the bandstand, and she was playing her upright bass, and the concert finished, and she put her bass down on the floor in front of her, and she crossed her hands like this and died.
Wow.
I was like, that's the way to go.
Hey,
She
you know
finished
what?
the whole concert
You know what?
and then left the earth. She flew to the angels.
None of us want to go, but that is a life well lived, and honestly, none of us should fear death. Death is just another part of life, and I've already died once, so I don't worry about shit like that
That
anymore.
makes two of us. That's what
So,
happened to my hand the first time when I was
well,
18, and why I
yeah.
stopped trying to be a classical pianist, because I broke my hand so much that cracked my skull and broke my neck, all this stuff.
Oh man.
And I died, and they gave me the choice when I was up there. They said, well, you have a lot more work to do, so if you want to go back, it's up to you. We'll keep you here if you want. So I just went boop, and I woke right back up.
You know, I
No fear.
I wish I could say that I saw something or remember anything, but I was in such a state of fucked upness that I died. They told me. I found out looking at hospital bills.
Oh wow, that's
And
something. I
you know,
remember.
the other thing it set me was I found a crucifix in the house, and the only crucifix I have is like 100 years old. It's my grandmother's or something, and it's in a drawer upstairs. It's not like I wear it or go to church or anything like that. And I
Oh,
don't
I've got
know.
one in mixed in with my Mardi Gras beads, because Mardi
Excellent.
Gras is Tuesday, and I'm very
I
excited.
know. I know. I'd almost wish we had been in Tampa a few weeks ago. It was
They
there you go.
celebrated beautifully
They
down
had
there.
a great. They had the boat came in, and you know, the pirate boat, and I've played many of those. It's our version of Mardi Gras, people. If you don't know, it's called Gasparilla Parade. The
Yep.
fake pirate who attacked and ravished Tampa
Yeah, Jose
arrives,
Gaspar.
Jose Gaspar, and then he took over, and they were doing some loving and some drinking and playing music and dancing with the Indians, and you know, I don't know what to tell you. It was a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
I love Ybor City. I know we've talked about it in the past interview. What a great
I'm really
venue that
surprised
is.
we didn't meet each other in the past, because we're the same age. We were there at the same time. And we were
Right.
both gigging out in bands. I had a
Yeah,
heavy
well,
metal
you know,
band.
my band is my band. It's their band, but it was our band, and it was my band at one time. Like we were together a long time. It's called the Shake Society, and
I've heard of the Shake Society, but I didn't go visit because I was always working with
right.
Foxhead.
Who
I
did
had
you
a
play
heavy.
with?
It was called Foxhead, FOXXHEAD.
That seems like I remember something like back in the day, Players Magazine. You remember that or music?
Yep, we were in
Steve,
there a lot.
I was in that a lot too, and I bought advertising for the Shakes back then. I was getting whole pages, like paying a lot of bucks to get the back page and shit like that. I'm trying to remember the guy. Do you remember a photographer for those magazines named Michael Haynes?
I do know who he is, but I haven't spoken to him in forever.
Well, you and me both, and it's interesting because he married an Ecuadorian 20 years ago. And the last I talked to him, he's like, I just got married. I'm going down to Ecuador. And at the time, there was a lot of coke going in and out of Ecuador, like tons.
Oh boy.
And I told him, I'm like, well, be careful down there. You know, remember, you are a gringo, and you look as white. So, you know.
Yeah, it makes you
I
a
said,
target.
make sure you learn Spanish from somebody down there. Upbeat. Yes, indeed.
They printed this magazine, this big old thick glossy magazine. It's huge. Every day there was a new one, and it's got all the information in it.
Yeah, did you
I
come
just
back
love
with a whole
NAMM.
big bag full of stuff like this? I know I did. I come back every year, and it's like got all the swag, you know, the good shit
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah, and I bought this strap when I was there, and I absolutely love it.
Oh,
And
that's a gorgeous strap. It
yeah, I
really
got
is.
last year when I went, I bought a white and blue one, and it looks like clouds on the back because I have a white fender.
Oh, okay.
I really don't like, but I
Oh,
have it. So people demand a fender. I've got one I can bring. And then
cool.
yeah, it was really cool. And then I got these strings. I don't know if you can see the color is
Yeah,
red.
I do. I can tell.
I've been
Are they
using.
silk wound?
They are wound. They're anodized in a certain
Oh,
way,
I
so
see.
that it doesn't feel anything weird. But when you change a new string, they don't hurt your fingers, which always was my complaint.
Hell
When I
yeah.
changed strings, it would take me forever to get them to where they felt right,
Right.
and it was painful. But this is a company called Aurora, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm really impressed with the string. I just love the sound, and I'd been using DRs coated. They have a coated string as well, and they have a lot of different colors. But my goodness, this is a beautiful string, and it's
Definitely.
a very, very comfortable string, and it brings out so many sounds and frequencies that I haven't
I
heard.
love the fret markers too on your bass.
Oh yeah, I got little
Very,
music
very,
note
very
fret
cool.
markers.
Yeah, that
I
is
added
great.
those myself.
Nice. Nice. Well,
Yeah.
listen, Tucky, we you know, this is for everybody watching. We have had an extended version of the Live with Neve show.
Yes,
And
I know.
Tucky and I could probably carry on for the rest of the afternoon because it's always great talking music and just, you know, we have to play at some point because it's just,
Yes, sir.
you know, definitely
We
have to.
somehow missed it back in the old Tampa days. What
Yeah.
a shame.
It is because boy, we had a lot of fun, and you know how it is with good bands. Like everybody down there was such a good scene. I'd have friends of mine hook me up with gigs I was doing. I'd turn them on to the ones they were doing.
And this is my recent recording. I'm so proud of it.
Is that on your home? Is that on your page? A copy of it yet?
It's on my Facebook page.
Okay, I
I
want
guess
to check it
I have
out.
to upload it to YouTube because all my videos are on YouTube that says your
Right.
videos, and I need to put that on there. But I'm really proud of it, and I was so happy.
I'm really excited to hear it because it's a great song, and I'm not familiar with the singer, but I just can tell the
It was
package is put
amazing,
together.
and the room was just full of love, and it was fun when we went. We did a rehearsal first, and I walked in with my friend Dave, who is a dark man,
Hmm.
and me, and it was interesting because all the eyes go, and they watched me walk over, and they watched me sit down, and like everybody was all staring at me, and Dave kicked it off, 2, 3, and we just started playing, and those people went, and then all their
Ah.
big eyes turned into big smiles.
That's the best.
Yeah.
That's what music's about. It really is. I always tell my band guys too. I don't care if your old lady this morning you caught her with some dude, all that shit. If you come to the gig, come in here for just 2 hours or 3 hours. Put that shit in your pocket because it's still going to be there in the morning, and you're here to
Work it
fucking
out on the bandstand. Get your
just get it.
emotions out
Get
on
your
the
mind
bandstand.
focused and get in the game. Don't be sitting there miserable. We ain't got time for that. When we're done,
No.
I'll buy you a beer and we can sit and talk and see if we come up with something actually sensible to help you rather than
Yeah. And
crying
I
in our
go to
beers
church
and
regular, and,
yeah.
and when I go to
Sure.
church, the church people are all Caribbean, and I'm again the only one that looks like me, and the only
That's
well,
okay.
we have a female piano player too, and they've been so kind to me and taught me deeply how to play those,
Yeah.
calypso and soca grooves and
Oh,
the
I
reggae
love that
grouper.
stuff. Yeah.
I studied Latin Caribbean music in college at University of Miami, but Latin Caribbean and Afro Caribbean are not the
Way different.
same. It's a
Yeah.
different groove.
Do you
And
know
don't
who,
ask them where one is because they do not know.
no, they don't know, and you have to listen to that groove. And if you haven't played that type of music, I have a
Hmm.
couple of friends really into it. It's funny you studied it. I've studied it a little bit, and I also produced for Alan Lomax, the Lomax collection.
Wow!
I just got lucky, and I ended up producing. What I did basically was they sent me a bunch of DATs, and I had to listen to them all. And several of them were duplicated. I had to log it all. And then she asked me, "Well, would you mind producing this record? I trust you enough now to know what's good and bad."
Cool.
And it was great because I took what is his name, Brian, the guy who's the spokesperson for the Tampa police for like the past 20 years. I can't think of his name now. He used to be a writer for the Tribune. His name will come to me in a minute. He ran like the music beat in the Tribune for decades.
Oh, wow.
He was always really good to me and my band. So when I got involved with the Lomax family, I found out Alan Jr. was still alive. I took him up there and gave him a scoop. We went and got a 3-hour interview with
Good.
Mr. Lomax. So it's funny. I got his book, The Land Where the Blues Began, and it had been signed before he got his tardive dyskinesia or whatever. He had an illness that was very profound, but he scrawled his signature. But the book had his signature 2 different decades apart. And it was really cool. And sadly, somebody, one of my friends or former friends will say, if I ever see it in somebody's bookcase, I'll grab it back. But I know somebody decided they needed it more than I did over the years. And I always figure if somebody's that desperate to steal something, let them have it. I'm not going to sit. I'll get another copy and read it. And
and it's Bob Marley's birthday. Yes, Tuesday.
All right, Adriman. I'd say everybody out there, smoke one, fat one.
And also on Valentine's Day, his movie is coming out, One Love.
I'm
love, so excited.
One heart. Let's get together and be all right. Oh, I love that song. The Shakes. We played a lot of soca, and that's where I learned anything I know about it.
You played soca back then?
We were the weirdest band in Tampa back then. We played ska, we played soca, we played rock and roll. We'd play fucking weird Johnny Cash tunes in a strange way. Like we were just a really cool band. And when I joined them, I didn't know jack shit about reggae or ska. I didn't even know what ska was. I was a Led Zeppelin or jazz guy. That kind of thing. But I've always been a jazz aficionado since I played with Clifford. And so you can't really take your influences out of your playing. And
they make you richer. Every influence you bring, they make you richer.
Because just even if you can use it one little bit that works from something else, you might just try it and go, wow, that's really brilliant. Or you might go, damn, I didn't quite execute it right. My muscle memory's not there yet. That's that whole fucking thing that's great about it. Listen, it's 11:30, peeps. We're going to have you back on. You're great. You're fun. And
I really appreciate it. And I'm happy to share NAMM. I'm happy to share, my girlfriend who did a beautiful interview with the CEO. So it sounds like
I'd like to interview both of those ladies. The one who you did the album with and the head of music and the initiative with NAMM. Should be a great interview because I like talking to
Jasmine Sandler.
If I can bring the suits together with the rock and rollers and erase that sometimes mental gap, because all of us musicians, we're always like,
that's exactly what Jasmine does. When she did her keynote address, she had that beautiful gray suit on. She had a pair of fishnets that had diamonds on every corner and a huge pair of boots that was like 6-8 inches tall, big black metal boots. And it was just, she's warrior women in business and music. And she crosses those genres seamlessly and with class.
She's a very, just what I've seen of her speak, very, very professional, just kicks ass. In fact, I'm happy NAMM seems to have such a dynamic team running it, because they haven't always. Over the decades, there's been periods of time where certain people it was personalities and cheapness is mostly.
John Malenzak, I tell you, is the right man for this time. He is people oriented.
Right.
And that's what this business is. He wants to create more music makers and help this industry grow and not be so, constantly pushed down by the industry.
I'm sorry, one of your friends said hello, Tucky, the Jaybird Universe.
Yeah, she's Jaybird Music for the Arts. And her group, or her organization, gathers instruments and donates them to schools.
Oh man, I've got some stuff for her.
She's fascinating. She's a sports journalist, and she took me to the Emmy Awards Christmas party.
All right, very cool.
Yeah, because she is involved in the Emmys due to her sports casting.
Right. Wow, that's fantastic. Well, I'd love to maybe have her on the show as well. You know, my show's just about spreading what musicians, and sometimes it's inside baseball, like today we're talking about NAMM, but it also educates the fans out there that, hey,
Yeah.
musicians, like, we go to this event that's, I remember the first time I went, it was just like the most felt
Oh,
like
I
a
know.
Russian who, after the wall fell, came over to America and saw like an Aldi grocery store. Not that's German, like a big ShopRite, one of those gazillion sized ones,
Yep.
and they'd be like, can I can buy all this?" I read one an immigrant who said, "I couldn't believe it. The roads were as wide as streets, and there was just everything, and it was affordable, not like over there in the Soviet times." Pretty crazy, but everybody watching, thank you for watching our show today. Tucky,
Thank
thank
you
you
for
for
having
being
me
on.
on.
You're always welcome, and please keep us informed, because if you got a gig, if you send it to me, I frequently, if I see you're doing something, I'll repost it or talk about it. But
Thank you.
just let
I
me know.
appreciate that.
I
I'm
like
going to
you,
be involved
and
in the Ladies Got Chops Women's Music Festival in March. That's
you're
going
gonna
to
be
be exciting.
playing. What?
I'm going to be playing on March 30th, and I'll get you some details about it.
I'll be back the 22nd from being on the road, so hit me up. Maybe I'll get to it, and we could do a broadcast or something from there.
Oh, that would be great.
And here's Jasmine. Hi, Jasmine. We'll be calling you. Any rate, everybody watching, thank you. I'm going to go ahead before I'm going to say goodbye to Tucky. I'm going to
Bye,
run a
honey.
quick commercial, people. And if you're watching, take care. People, if you're watching, remember, I'm going to go ahead. I will have this afternoon's links posted if they're not already. And we'll see you at 4 o'clock. Going to be a great day. And I hope whatever you're doing, I hope you're having a good time. If you're out there, be kind. Bye-bye.
Hi, this is Leland Sklar, and I am hanging with Neve, and I am having the best time of my life.
Live with Neve Fridays on the East Coast from